I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to Ozark City Hall. We're glad you're here for the Board of Aldermen meeting and engaging with your elected officials. Listening to perspectives of city residents, business owners, and other community members helps our elected leaders make more informed decisions. Before the meeting begins, let's review our rules of order. These ensure the meeting is orderly and efficient while allowing everyone who would like to speak an opportunity to do so. There are two opportunities for you to speak: during the agenda's scheduled visitor and guest portion of the meeting and during public discussion of new bills and resolutions. During the agenda's scheduled visitor and guest portion, anyone who signed up at the city clerk's office before 5 p.m. the Wednesday before the meeting can speak to aldermen about the topic they specified. Now, in the public discussion of new bills and resolutions, that allows you to give comments for aldermen to consider before they make a decision. Anytime anyone is speaking, the following rules apply. First, only one person should speak at a time. Please be respectful of the person speaking and hold your comments until it's your turn. Second, anyone speaking must do so from the podium and speak into the microphone. Third, you must first provide your name and address in writing to the city clerk before beginning your comments. These forms are provided near the entrance. You also must state your name and address to the Board of Aldermen using the podium microphone. Fourth, all comments should be addressed to the mayor and aldermen. Finally, all speakers have 5 minutes. A digital timer will show you the countdown. The light will change from green to flashing yellow when 2 minutes are left. It will stay yellow at the 1 minute mark. Your comment time is up when the light turns red. The mayor or alderman may have additional questions for speakers after this time limit. Occasionally, the board will invite someone to make a presentation at the meeting. This is only to give information to the board about a specific topic. These presenters will have no time limit on giving their information. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded with video and audio unless there are technical difficulties. The use of cell phones or other devices is discouraged during the meeting. Please silence your phones right now. Again, thank you for being here and engaging with the City of Ozark. The meeting will begin shortly.
Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Aiken.
Here.
Alderman Campbell.
Here.
Alderman Galloway is absent. Alderman Hutchinson.
Here.
Alderman Metcalf is absent. Alderman Schneider.
Here.
We have 4 aldermen present. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Our first order is we'll look at the minutes from our regular session on May the 5th, 2025. Are there any questions regarding these minutes as they were sent to us? Okay, I am not seeing movement. Is there a motion that we accept them as printed?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as printed.
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we approve the minutes as printed for May the 5th, 2025. That motion was made by Alderman Snyder, second by Alderman Hutchinson. All in favor of voting motion to approve these minutes, do so by show of hands. And I know you're staying because you're not here. Yes, I understand. Okay. As for item 6, there's no ceremonial matter. We do have a scheduled guest tonight. We have Buddy Huggins, who requested to speak to the board. So, sir, you may come at this time.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? 1201 West Farmer Street, Ozark, Missouri. What I want to talk about is Burger King. I've been doing historical videographer and photography around this city for over 10 years. Been documenting construction projects for quite a while, even beyond, that. So there's some questions about the day it was poured, and I would have been able to have talked to people. I would have convinced them not to order the concrete that day, because that day was 43 degrees. If that would have been the case, it would have been perfect. But what happened is 4 days below 32, all the way down to 22 for 3 days. And then it came back up to like 28 the fourth day, and even the fifth day is questionable. The problem is they didn't put no blanket over the top of the foundation. Usually you put a blanket over the whole job site or the footer, because they did 100% on the footer, poured it, placed it, and no blankets. I was there every day and kept waiting on blankets, and they didn't come. So that's a call for attention. So I'm asking for transparency on this thing, because not only did they mess that, it was 3 months before they brought anything back in there. And then when they did that, they poured the slab so fast, it was unreal. And that slab is very important that it had proper testing done on it, because it's going on a bad foundation. What they did was they framed it in one day. They put rock over the top of everything, and they didn't do the water where they could actually tamp it down and get it to impervious, like, you know, where it wouldn't penetrate through. It'd be hard as a rock. That didn't happen. And then when they did put the bisqueen down, they put chicken wire down. Chicken wire is 4x4, smaller than your finger. A job site like that needed number ones and number two rebar, which is big and hefty. And it would have been a foot on center, would have been okay for that. And then it needed to be on chairs. The chicken wire was laid flat on the ground. Guess what goes flat on the ground when the concrete hits it? No chicken wire in the middle of the slab to make it have hardening principles. So that is two things. This other part of the slab was they pulled the form off of it in 6 hours. That's horribly wrong. And there's a lot of scientific reasons and technical reasons. I got it all on buddyhuggins.com. You go there and you will pull up the page where all the technical information is. And then they saw cutted it right in front of me, dry. It takes 20 hours to do even a wet saw. You can do it depending on the humidity and temperature. You can do it sometimes in 12 hours, but you don't do it 7 hours. So they made a lot of technical errors. That's what I want to bring to y'all's attention. I'd like to request a sunshine of documentations. Because I asked questions to the, for lack of a better word to say, who was working the job site. They spoke Spanish. But I asked the people that could speak English about the cylinders, and was there any? There was none. And Danny Hall's president was nowhere around. And the other guy that is the code enforcer, nowhere around. They didn't answer my emails or nothing for months and months and months. So something's up. Thank y'all for looking at it, and let's be transparent. Whether I'm right or wrong, it don't matter. What matters is safety. Putting a building up like that, it's going to be huge. Oh, other thing is they got the material there, and it's not even covered up with plastic. It's raining on it. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of material getting rained on. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any questions? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I believe there is some merit to what he's saying. However, I believe Mr. Johnson or Mr. Smith may have some additional insight on that project, if I'm not mistaken.
In advance of this meeting, I did send out a communication to the Board of Aldermen, giving you a little bit of background. I would defer this to our planning director, Randall Whitman, if you request additional information. But the short version is that we are investigating some concerns that we have, and we're going to be asking for some additional information from a third-party inspector on the property and on the project. Randall, is there anything that you want to add? So
Okay.
there are matters that we're investigating.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, not seeing more. Okay, we'll move on then to we have 4 first readings. We'll go to the first one, which is bill number 3665.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we place bill number 3665 on first reading by title only, please.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is that we place bill number 3665 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Aiken, second by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on this motion to discuss bill number 3665, do so by show of hands. And it does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, amending the zoning code and official map by changing the zoning classification of certain real property located at 1602 through 1604 West South Street.
I think at this time we'll recognize Community Director Randall Whitman.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Yes, this is a rezone request for 13.3 acres of property. It's currently zoned general agricultural A1. And they're requesting to rezone it to general mixed use, which is the acronym is GMU. The property is located on the southeast corner of 17th Street and South Street, which is the current home of the Ozark Assembly of God Church. The property is adjacent to the Collins Point Commercial Strip Center in the east of the Hurricane Bay Car Wash, and it's on the south side of the street across from Walgreens, generally located. So as you know, everybody knows in Ozark, this request was generated to facilitate the construction of a new coffee shop, a 7-brick coffee shop. On the northeast corner of the site, so A1 zoning doesn't allow commercial construction or commercial development. Churches have a little bit of discrepancy on where they locate. That's why it's there with its current zoning. So from a zoning evaluation standpoint, we've based our review and the recommendations that we give to the Planning and Zoning Commission really on whether or not the entire property is appropriate for general mixed use. We're not looking at just at that corner, in other words. We're looking at the entire 13 acres and whether or not the entire property, the future use of it, and the future zoning is appropriate. So as a refresher for those who haven't heard this before, these are the 5 factors that are outlined in the zoning code that the Planning and Zoning Commission is charged with considering when they make recommendations. And that is, how is the property currently zoned? How was it used? What guidance is offered from the city's comprehensive plan? What development trends? What general use in the area? And what other things should be considered in terms of what buildings are there and what adjacent neighbors and things like that? And most importantly, is general mixed use appropriate for this property and the uses within that district? Are they appropriate? So the surrounding zoning and the use of the property, everything in red is C2. So that includes the property to the north, which is Walgreens, the property on the east side where the car wash is and Lowe's, the property on the south side, which is Office Warehouse, is that yellow color down in the bottom left-hand corner. It's undeveloped, and then the property in blue is high-density multifamily. I think there's some townhouses there on the, can't see the name of that street, but there is one property on the end that's undeveloped as well. And then there is a small tract of agriculture A1 residential property that's undeveloped as well. So that's the surrounding zoning. So the city's comprehensive plan, as always, it dictates what and we want to achieve the highest and best use of property. So we do that through zoning, but we also do that through mitigation of other things, setbacks, buffer yards, screening, good site design, elevation that match the surrounding area and things like that. Staff doesn't have any significant concerns with the zoning proposed here. In this case, as I said, the property is actively used as a church, and which is probably why the comprehensive plan recommends that it be governmental or institutional use. They look at how the property is currently used and what zoning district would be appropriate for that. The comprehensive plan really doesn't look very dynamically at how other properties should be used, which is one of the things we need to fix and work on when we update it later in the year. Mixed use zoning does accommodate, the GMU does accommodate a variety of commercial uses, including a car wash. It obviously allows churches. It allows a variety of residential uses to be mixed on the property. And it deals with issues within those uses with setbacks, as I said, landscaping and design. But overall, mixed use is an appropriate zoning for this property, and it is supported generally by the comprehensive plan as well as Onward Ozark. So as you can see from this image, sewer and water infrastructure available to the site. They've actually got several options on how to connect any new development. The property is located on South Street, which is a primary arterial, and it also has frontage on 17th Street there, which is a collector street. Both can provide access to the site for future development, and it will provide access to the new coffee shop. Any future development, including a coffee shop, will have to go through a traffic study, and that's that administrative lane of process that will occur after it's zoned right now. Again, we're just looking at zoning, and it's something to kind of keep in mind that although we know what's going to happen with it, it very well could be a variety of things. Once it's zoned, we're just opening the door for any use that occurs within that district. So we need to look at the entire property, as I said. Again, this is zoning the entire property. I think I've said all this before, so I'm just going to leave it there. We haven't had any complaints. I haven't had any opposition to the zoning change from any of the neighbors. There was nothing brought before the Planning and Zoning Commission. All the publication requirements have been met. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this at their April meeting and did recommend that it be approved. So with that, I think the applicant with the church and the applicant's representative are here, but I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
All right.
Okay. I'm
No?
not seeing it. I don't want to brush anyone, but I'm not seeing it. So thank you, sir. Since this is a first reading, at this time, we'll open this to the public. Is anyone here who would speak for Bill number 3665? This is now your time.
Good evening. My name is Zach Mills with Toth and Associates, and I'm here in support of the rezoning and just here to answer any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Okay. I think we're good. Thank you for being here. Okay. Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of Bill 3665?
My name is Bob Smyer. I am the pastor at Ozark Assembly of God, and we are in favor of rezoning.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? And we're speaking for right now, still. Okay, I'm not seeing movement. Is anyone here who would speak against this Bill 3665? This is your time to come to the podium. I'm not seeing movement. So at this time, I'm going to close this to the public. Any final board response? I'm not seeing any, so therefore, Bill number 3665 will be held over to a future meeting. We now draw attention to Bill number 3666.
Your Honor, I make a motion to place Bill 366 on first reading by title only.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we place Bill number 3666 on its first read by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Aiken, second by Alderman Hutchison. All in favor of the motion to discuss Bill number 3666, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, amending the zoning code and official map by changing the zoning classification of certain real property located at 1014 through 1018 South 3rd Street.
Okay. And we'll welcome back Director Randall Whitman.
Thank you. Yeah, this is again, this is a request, as Amanda said, to rezone 0.67 acres, a property in the Central Business District, which is zone C4, to General Commercial C2. The property is located at 1014 3rd Street, which is on the east side of the road. There's currently a chiropractor located there, a tattoo shop, and I think a dispensary. So they're located within the building or the strip center. So this zoning case has been in process for quite a while. There's a significant backstory, as you can imagine, but generally speaking, this zoning case represents the city's efforts to work with the property owner to accommodate some building and construction modifications that resulted generally in some code conflicts. So the city's been working with the applicant for some time to accommodate those circumstances and provide a workable solution, without disrupting the business owners and keeping them in full operation. As before, these are the same factors we always consider, same ones I mentioned with the last case. How is the property zoned? How is it used? How would it be used? And is the current or proposed zoning appropriate? What guidance comes from the comprehensive plan, and how does it affect this property? So the surrounding zoning and the use of the property to the north, everything in that light pink color is C4, which is the central business zoning district. Everything on the south side is the same. Everything to the east is residential. It's that retired R1C zoning district. There is some C2 property on the west side of the property across 3rd Street, and then some residential property as well, a little bit further north. Similar to the previous case, the city's comprehensive plan provides guidance in a number of ways. And it looks at, again, looking at the highest and best use and how do we mitigate those issues through other things other than zoning. So in this case, there's an existing building, an existing site to consider. The property is actively used for a retail office strip center, and that will presumably not change. None of the existing businesses will change. It will not make them non-conforming. The comprehensive plan through the Ozark or Onward Ozark plan generally recommend mixed-use zoning and commercial zoning for this area. The Onward Ozark has an excerpt that you can read there with regard to this portion of 3rd Street that's entitled the 3rd Street District Plan. So it's a sub-plan within the entire Onward Ozark plan, which provides some guidance, but generally it doesn't offer a lot of new information beyond just reinforcing what support for C2 and C4 zoning that supports those types of permitted uses that we currently have. So it's in conformance. This recommendation or this zoning would align with what the comprehensive plan says. That's basically what I'm saying. Again, all the same development design requirements would apply if the property was redeveloped. It would be looked at as a non-conforming use. No stormwater, no building changes beyond what's there, no site improvements, parking is proposed to happen. The property is located on a primary arterial. Current access would not change. They wouldn't be required to modify their stormwater plan, their parking lot, or anything like that unless the property is redeveloped. It is located within the Transportation Overlays District, which encompasses 3rd Street. And as I said, the zoning change will not remove the site from that district or any of its design requirements. It really just impacts it if it's redeveloped or modified. While there is some immediate residential neighborhoods adjacent to the site on the east, again, they wouldn't be required to construct the buffer yard. The zoning C2 would accommodate the changes made by the roof by the applicant in material and composition, and it would bring the property into zoning compliance. So with respect to moving this property out of the C4 or central business district, staff didn't feel there was really any predominant architectural issues. The site is not historic, the building is not historic, and there's really nothing that's negatively going to affect 3rd Street or the C4 zoning district or the downtown central business district. And again, the architecture and design requirements will not significantly be distorted by the construction or the modifications that have occurred. It's really it's a difference in materials and some opportunities to sign the property a little bit different in terms of the building where the attached signs can go if it's in the C2 zoning district. So this zoning would accommodate what the property owner wants to do, what they've already started to do, and what his plans are for the future use of the property. As before, we can confirm that all the postings have been met. There was one speaker at the Planning and Zoning Commission that was concerned about stormwater, and it could just be that we've had a wet spring. It could be that the gutters have been temporarily taken off the building while the roof's been working on. If the property's rezoned and he finishes the roof job, the gutters will go back on. The downspouts will probably direct the water where it was before, but there is no plans to modify the site, no plans to modify the stormwater design, anything like that. Most of the water goes to the east just as it always has and probably always will unless something major changes. With that, I'll answer any questions I can. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend that you approve this at their April 28th meeting.
Okay. Any questions from the board for Director Whitman? Okay. Yes, Alderman Hutcherson.
Just want to clarify a couple of things. First of all, the businesses that are in there would be fine in a C4. There's no problem with the use of the buildings
That's right.
as it is now.
Yes, ma'am.
So this doesn't really improve the rentability or the value of the building as far as the uses that it can use.
Not in terms of the businesses that are there. It does limit their ability to how he can put attached signs on the building, which is one of the things he was trying to accomplish when he made modifications to the roof. He created a vertical wall. I can go back here and show you a picture and it'll be easier to understand.
Yeah.
There you go. You see that white vertical part that allows him to attach a sign to that, whereas before it was just a gable roof and he couldn't, by ordinance, mount a sign on the roof to help advertise for the businesses. And if you look at the way the porch is constructed, there's really minimal opportunity to put an advertising sign up for each of the businesses. So, and he can speak more to this, but this is what I think he was trying to accomplish. One of the things he was trying to accomplish by making these roof changes. I think I went beyond answering what you asked, but I hope that helps a little bit.
So also, I think I read that whoever the owner is would not have to put a sidewalk in.
No.
All right. And no barriers between the residential section behind or any of the things that we usually require.
No, there's no, there would normally be a buffer yard required between C2 and a residential district, but because it's an existing building and there's no site modifications. So I mentioned to you earlier, this is one that list of things that I think we need to make some code amendments to align policy and protocol or process with exactly what the zoning ordinance says. And I think this is something we could fix and kind of deal with these non-conforming situations so it's crystal clear on what's allowed when somebody's in a situation like this. But no, they would not be required to as we currently enforce our policies yet.
Okay. So as far as the process happens, there were no permits pulled. There was no review before he started, or whoever the owner is, started the construction.
It's tough for me to tell you exactly. I wasn't here, but there were permits pulled for the roof. We have those. It's been inspected to this point, but construction's been stopped because the roof design, the materials don't comply with the C2 zoning, the C4 zoning. So we stopped construction until it was properly zoned, until there was a lot combination completed. I think those were the two things that had to be met in order to meet the C2 zoning requirements.
So there was construction going on before all the steps were put into place.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
Okay. Again, this is a first reading, so I'm going to open this up to the public now. Is anyone here who wishes to speak for Bill number 36666? This is now your time to come to the podium. Okay. Okay. I'm not seeing movement. Is anyone here who wishes to speak against Bill number 36666? Okay, again, I'm not seeing movement, so I'm going to now close this to this time to the public. Any final board responses? Okay, I am not seeing any, so therefore, Bill number 36666 will be held to a future meeting. We now would draw attention now to Bill number 3667.
Mayor, I move that we place Bill 3667 on its first reading by title and description only.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. The motion is that we place Bill number 3667 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Hutcherson. It was seconded by Alderman Campbell. All in favor of voting on this motion to discuss Bill 3667, do so by show of hands, please. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a contract with Carnahan White LLC for ball field fencing.
Okay, at this time, we will recognize our Park and Recreation Director, Director Hayden.
Good evening, Your Honor and Board of Aldermen. Thank you all for considering this bill this evening. In front of you is a bill for new ball field fencing at Finley River Park. This represents the West baseball field. That is the youngest series of ball field players. About 200 children play on that field each summer. I believe there are actually children playing on that field this evening. Not mine, he's on the middle field now. But ultimately that fence has seen some things. It's been through it. It's time to replace it. We were able to, and we very much appreciate it from the board, replace the central field last year. This is the same bid that came in lowest that we're presenting to you this evening. The central field looks very good. If you have the opportunity to drive into Finley River Park, you'll see the western field, which is proposed this evening, looks quite a bit different from the work that they performed last summer. We're very satisfied, and we're very excited for you all to consider this contract with Carnahan White to replace that ball field fencing. One thing I will note is that we were able to work hand in hand with our planning and development department. This is in the floodplain. However, because it is a like-for-like replacement of an existing fence, we were able to work with them to get a no-rise certificate and appropriate permits for that fence in the floodplain. But beyond that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yes, Alderman Campbell.
I may have overlooked it, but so I noticed Carnahan White, the successful bidder, or I assume it ends up being a successful bidder. Alternate bid number one, I'll call it, with 5-foot fencing installed. Is the base bid for 4-foot fencing or something?
The base bid was for 4-foot fencing, and that is what we went with. Ultimately, when you look at that age group and what the existing fence is as well, is currently 4-foot fencing. I personally would not park my car beyond that fencing, but you're not going to see the 7 and 8-year-olds hit the outfield over the 4-foot. But the alternate was there at the request of our sports director. But as we considered the bids, we didn't seek to pursue that 5-foot option.
So we'll be going with the 4-foot.
We'll be going with the 4-foot,
Okay.
which if you drive down there is what is on the new field, the middle field, and what is currently there on that field as well.
All right.
Okay, Alderman Snyder.
What's your completion time?
So ultimately, we won't begin construction until ball season's over. This will move very quickly. So we would be done hopefully by September. We would be working with the schedule of our ball season, but then also ensuring that it's complete by the time the craft fair begins that first weekend in October. And so ball season should wrap up by the end of July. I believe it's actually the beginning of July. Our sports director, Phil, is not happy if we go too far past July 4th, but you can't control rain. And so we would hit the ground running shortly thereafter. I know that Carnahan White is ready. Should we approve this contract, they're excited to be able to work with us again.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else from the board? Questions for Director? Okay, I'm not seeing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Again, this is first reading, so at this time, I'm going to open this to the public. Is anyone here who wishes to speak for Bill 3667? This is now your time. Okay. I'm not seeing movement, so therefore, anyone here who can speak against Bill 3667, please come to the podium. Okay. Therefore, I'm now going to close to the public to Bill number 3667. Is there any final comments from the board before we move on? I'm not seeing any. Therefore, Bill 3667 will be held at a future meeting. But now draw attention to Bill number 3668.
Your Honor, I move to place Bill 3668 on first reading by title only, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Y'all doing very well together. Okay. We have Bill number 3668 on its first reading by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Aiken. It was seconded by Alderman Snyder. All in favor of voting on the motion to discuss Bill number 3668, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a contract with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley Incorporated for engineering design services.
And now we'll welcome to the podium Director Jeremy Parson.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Board. I'm going to switch over to a different PowerPoint here. Guys, there we go. A lot of you all remember this project, the Outer Road project that we actually submitted a grant for last year. We were awarded around fall of 2024. And I want to kind of give you an idea, just a refresher on why this area is of interest. It's been identified as a outer road, and this certainly aligns with our major thoroughfare plan to provide more connectivity to the north and south. We've also seen a lot of development, or the beginning of development, in this area that we refer to as Spring Valley. A lot of interest there. And we're seeing much more interest. As you know, the Chadwick Flyer goes through there. Just threw a couple logos on there for you to kind of determine where we're at. I'll kind of point out the outer road area and show you on another slide as well. But a reminder, this is this project partners. This would have not been possible without Show Me Christian County. They fought hard for this money. We typically don't. We're typically not eligible for CDBG funds. That's due to the size of our city, and it's also due to our median income. So this was an exception, and I just want to say thank you many, many times to them. This is a great project that they put on our books. Went through the process. We were selected. Basically, the Department of Economic Development said, hey, this is a great project, and this will get things going. And I want to remind everyone, this is phase one. We're going north, so just get ready. We're going to keep going. But at 18th Street, you guys are kind of familiar with that area out there by the old Hanks Chevrolet, and moving on up north to the Elks Lodge. That'll be phase one. We worked on several different initial design concepts. If you all remember, we did a MOU with Toth and Associates and just started analyzing that. And the reason we use Toth on this is an Ozark Special Road District area, and we're trying to be good neighbors and work with them on this. We ultimately landed on this solution. This is what we put in the RFQ package. It's kind of a combination of all A, B, and C that we put together. We did this by looking at grades, looking at stormwater, and also communicating with the property owners out there. We felt like this was the best solution to provide an outer road and still remain, I guess, the integrity of the residential area by keeping that level of basically separation. So that's where we landed. Again, since that time, there's been a lot going on. I know it's been quiet for a while, but with anything with grants, it's paperwork time. But we've been working our way through it. They required that we put this out for a request for qualifications. We saw a lot of firms apply for this. 7 firms actually applied for this job. Ultimately, they were scored on qualifications. We followed the CDBG format. Cliff Spangler in our office did a really good job with following that format and running everything through the Department of Economic Development. So following the process, it was our job to kind of get and narrow it down based upon qualifications. And I will say this too, this wasn't just a public works project. We called in planning and development, and they were on our selection committee as well, because this isn't just a road. This is economic development. This is placemaking. And sometimes we think too much like engineers, and they think like placemakers. So having them involved was great. Request for qualifications, we narrowed it down to 3. The 3 firms that actually scored the highest were Cochran Engineering, who's our on-call third party. They're very familiar with this area. Crawford Murphy Tilly is a name that you've heard several times. They've been heavily involved with the Chadwick Flyer. So they were very familiar with this area too, because of all the phases they're working on right now. And Tope did a good job in their qualifications packet. We did all the scoring. We did it based upon the highlighted criteria there, or the bold criteria there. And honestly, it was an easy decision amongst staff. There was about 7 of us, I believe, on the selection committee. CMT just did a great job of understanding what we're trying to get accomplished here and understanding the bigger picture with Chadwick Flyer and what we're doing in the future with future phases. So we've got a good working relationship with them. They scored the highest. It's all part of the process, but then we went on to go into the next step, is defining the scope. So the last few months, we've been working with them on the scope to make sure that it fulfills all of our needs. There's also been some negotiations on that scope and what we can do internally to help us save some money. But all of these items, I won't go through them all, but these are included in the contract that you have before you tonight. I wanted to give you kind of a proposed timeline too. We're going to jump right into design here in just the next couple of months, assuming this works its way through the Board of Aldermen and gets approved. We're shooting for out to bid in the winter of the early 2026, when it's nice and cold and paving contractors are hungry for jobs. We want to go into construction as soon as it's warm enough to start building that road. And hopefully we'll have everything completed by late fall of 2026. Always hope to get it done much sooner, but we basically, when we went after this project, we defined 2025 as the year of design, 2026 is the year of construction. And that's for multiple reasons, but that also helps with the funding. In summary, we're ready to move forward with this phase. The total design, and I should say, not just design, construction administration. Again, the paperwork associated with CDBG, we've got a good track record there. We budgeted accordingly. And keep in mind too, I missed a really big bullet point. This is the 80-20. So of that $298,000, the city will only be out $59,000. So you can't go wrong when you get into these types of situations. Yes, it's more work, but it's worth every penny. And you all approved a budget line item for this in the 2025 budget. So we're right on track there as well. And again, always shout out to the partners. Shouldn't say shout out, but I acknowledge the partners. We couldn't do it without them. It's fun to work with them, and we just want to keep rolling. So, any questions?
Yeah. Yes, Alderman Campbell.
I just got a couple of things. So this is an RFQ and not an RFP, correct?
Correct.
And will we do an RFP, or is that
So
probably not necessary?
Not necessary in the CDBG process. So
Okay.
they want to see qualifications, then they allow you to go back and basically, oops, it's not going back. There it goes. Basically define the scope and work with them on the pricing of that scope. So RFQ, shortlist, pick them, and then go on to the design contract in this one.
Okay. Another.
Yes, sir.
That's the slide I wanted to.
All right.
I had a question until that slide showed up. And then I think it answered my question with the Longview corridor and interchange.
Yes, sir.
That we are incorporating the future design of that in with this.
Absolutely.
Where the Blue Road curves out.
Yeah.
That's where we're incorporating that for the interchange. Future
Absolutely.
interchange.
That's all been spaced out appropriately in accordance with MoDOT standards. That's kind of why you see that belly out to the east there to give us that appropriate spacing. But we're doing all the preliminary design because we are going to get that interchange one way or another. So
we've been talking about it a long time.
I know, if you just find $30 million, well, no, I think our last estimate was 50.
50 million.
What's 50 million?
Okay. But the outer road and the interchange have been a topic for quite a while.
Quite a while. In fact, I'll let Shelby give an update on that soon. But we had approached our state legislators about moving forward with that and putting some plans together to get this off and rolling. So, and it scores very well on our state transportation improvement plan.
Imagine.
And we're trying to get Nixa excited about it too, because it will benefit them.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll connect all the way over to Main Street. So we're trying to get a regional approach here. This is a Northern Christian County project. This is not just, now you got me started on the Longview interchange.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Questions for Director Parson? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, again, first reading, I'm going to open up now Bill number 3668 to the public. Anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of 3668? This is your time. Okay, I'm not seeing movement. Anyone here who wish to speak against or opposed to Bill 3668? Again, no movement, so I'm going to close this now to the public. At this time, any final board response? Okay, not seeing any. Bill number 3668 will be held over for a future meeting. We'll now turn to two resolutions, the first one being Resolution 2022.
Your Honor, I move that we read Resolution 2022 by title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is that we read Resolution 2022 by title only. That motion was made by Alderman Aiken. It was seconded by Alderman Hutchison. All in favor of voting to discuss Resolution 2022, do so by show of hands. And it does carry.
A resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Ozark, Missouri, approving one reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, and I think this time our city administrator.
I don't have anything to add, Your Honor. It's simply a reappointment.
Okay, any questions for our city administrator? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Again, is anyone here? I'm opening this up to the public. Anyone here wish to speak for Resolution 2022? This is your time. Okay. Okay.
Say a couple things.
Yes.
Our staff does think this is a good fit. Lacey lives downtown. She's been a previous member of the Historic Commission. Her family owns a downtown business here, so she's the type of person that really needs to be on the commission and recognizes the value of downtown, and she'd be a good fit, as I said. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of Resolution 2022? Okay. Anyone opposed or against Resolution 2022? Okay. I'm not seeing movement, so I'm going to close this to the public now. Is there any final board questions or response regarding this? Okay, let's go ahead.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we adopt Resolution 2022. All in favor of voting the motion to adopt Resolution 22, excuse me, the motion was made by Alderman Aiken. It was seconded by Alderman Hutchison. All in favor on the motion to approve Resolution 2022, do so by show of hands, please. And it passes. Okay. Now, before we draw attention to Resolution 2023, I did not realize that Alderman Galloway would not be here tonight. So Alderman Campbell, would you mind sponsoring this? Because I did not realize.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I make a motion that we read resolution number 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we read Resolution 2023. That was made by Alderman Campbell, seconded by Alderman Aiken. All in favor of voting on the motion to discuss Resolution 2023, do so by show of hands. And that does carry.
A resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Ozark, Missouri, approving an evaluation tool for the city administrator position. I can introduce this bill and then I'll turn it over to the city's consultant. This resolution just proposes to adopt the evaluation tool that the board has been working on with the consultant that the board hired. Lee is online on video, and I will let him now walk you through this and potentially touch on the next steps of the process.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. Glad to be back. And I will be happy to tell you what we've done since we last met and then what you could expect the next steps to be. So given the input that we had from the last meeting, what we've done is we've made a couple of alterations to the performance evaluation tool. You may recall one of the issues that came up the last time was to look for evaluators' comments, particularly if they had rated in any one category, made a rating of 4, which is almost always exceeds expectations, or did a rating of number 1, does not meet expectations. And so what we have done is that we have altered the form to provide for those comment sections and a prompt that reminds people to do that. The other thing we did was to provide an additional column within the evaluation form for a no answer that would also provide no rating in that section. So in other words, if the respondent is unsure or doesn't have enough information or insight into the city administrator's performance in that particular area, then the updated form provides an option for a no answer. And of course, that then is not calculated into the final numbers here. In the overall, and for those that may be watching, what we have provided is a performance evaluation tool that is a 2-part tool. It looks at 10 core competencies, which the Board of Aldermen agreed on the last time that we had reviewed, that they had reviewed the tool. And the second part provides for narrative comments, specifically geared toward the city administrator's work plan and the report that he provides. So what will accompany the evaluation tool is a user's guide, which we've updated to reflect the comments that I've just made. And then also the city administrator, has provided, has completed a milestones memo, so that will be very important for all the elected officials to read. Bear in mind, as you fill out the evaluation form. The city attorney and I communicated about a revised calendar, for getting this done, given that tonight's meeting was delayed, a couple nights, and I'll let her address that. But next steps would be is tomorrow, for us here at MGT to send to all of you individually 3 items, and then I have a question about a potential 4th item. But we're prepared to send you the evaluation tool via a link, which will help gather all the answers in a quick fashion. So we'll send that link. We'll send the city administrator's milestones memo, as well as the user's guide. The question for the board this evening is whether or not you would like a 4th document, which would be the city administrator's original work plan from I think last November or so, after he was on the job for a few months. Eric and I, talked about the value of sending that. We didn't want to overload you with documents as this will keep you busy over the Memorial Day weekend or so. But if you find that would be helpful, we can send that as well. Amanda, would you like to just cover real quickly the calendar that we're going to follow?
Yes, I can do that. Originally, the staff and Lee had discussed, along with the mayor, that the board would have a full week to evaluate and complete the evaluation. That was anticipating that this would be issued on Tuesday after the Board of Aldermen meeting on Monday of this week, which of course was rescheduled to today. We were anticipating asking for those evaluations to be turned in by the end of the day next Wednesday, which is the 28th, which would allow Lee's company to compile the answers on Thursday and then timely provide the answers to the Board of Aldermen on Friday, because we do anticipate a closed session on June 2nd, which is the following Monday at 5:30, where you will discuss and vote on that, the results of the evaluation. And so the proposed timeline is staying with those same dates. It does just shorten your time to complete the evaluation by 2 days. Of course, if that's acceptable by you, that would keep you on that original timeline. So the proposed return date would be due by the end of day on next Wednesday, which is May 28th. If you don't have any objection to that, we can stay on that schedule. That does keep us in time with the city administrator's contract, which we do want to meet that time frame to have the evaluation done.
Any question about the time frame? Okay. As for the work document, to me, the more information we have to work on the evaluation, I think the better it is as we do the evaluation. So I would like the work document that we provided after 6 months when he was here. It was like, was that 2 pages? Was it 2 pages?
It was a few pages.
Yeah.
I think it was printed front and back, but that was what you met and you discussed and you gave feedback on. And then that became the city administrator's work plan. So is that something you would like Lee to reissue so you have that with you along with the milestones memo? It looks like we're getting all nods. So Lee, that is a yes, they would like that.
All right, that sounds great. And I should just add too that with the amount of time that it will take to, say, refresh your reading of the work plan, Eric's milestones memo is about 5 pages or so, very well summarized. And then having the user's guide, which you've seen once before, but having that available to you. And then the time that would take to complete the evaluation tool, we would suggest that you look to set aside about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to read everything and complete everything.
Okay. Question, as we're filling this out, if we have a question, who do we contact?
You'll have, I'm going to send individual emails to all the aldermen and you, Mr. Mayor. So if you have a question, you could just, reply to me and I'll make sure I get you an answer.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
If it's though related to, Eric's work plan and all that, please include him, on that email.
Okay. Any more questions from the board? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Now I need to ask this open to the public at this time. Is anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of resolution 2023? Okay. I'm not seeing movement. Anyone here who's opposed to resolution 2023? This is your time to come to the platform if you're opposed. Again, I see no movement, so I'm going to close it to the public. Any final board questions? Okay, I am not seeing any, so entertain a motion. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2023.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion is that we approve resolution 2023. That motion was made by Alderman Campbell. It was seconded by Alderman Aiken. All in favor of voting on the motion to approve resolution 2023, do so by show of hands. And that does carry. Thank you very much. Now, there's no second readings at this time, so we can move on out to reports from our officers and board and committee. Did we need to go get? Okay.
You got scared?
Well, he felt it was appropriate while we was discussing this, that he would not be in the room, which I understand. Okay, you're up next as what updates, reports you have for us, sir?
Did I miss anything? Trying to add a little levity here. The only thing I have to add is remember that we are going to be closed on Monday in observance of Memorial Day. So everybody have a nice, long, safe weekend. I understand it's going to be cool and potentially very wet. In your honor, that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, planning and development, Randall Whitman. We have your update you gave to us.
Yes, sir. In addition to our regular monthly report, I'd share with you that we have a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on Monday night. We've got a scheduled speaker. You all had a presentation from Michael Roberts on the proposed Marabella plan development. He's going to come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's not an action item. It's just the same presentation you heard at your non-legislative meeting, giving them a precursor and overview of the project, and trying to field some questions early in the game so that they can kind of head that off. So that'll be Monday night. There's also a petition to annex.
You mean Tuesday night?
Tuesday night. Thank you very much. That's correct.
You can be here Monday night, but you might be alone.
That's right. Tuesday night. Tuesday night. We also have we're going to, Planning and Zoning Commission will consider a petition to annex 20 acres on NN across on the west side of NN, across from the school. It's not being followed by a zoning case at this time. It's just an annexation. They'll come back in June to present a proposal or a request to rezone the property. And then there's also it's not a vacation, it's an abandonment of a sidewalk easement to accommodate a certain coffee shop that we discussed earlier there on South Street and 17th. So those are the two items that the commission will be taking up. And they may well be taking up a change to their routine meeting time. Following your lead, we've asked them if they have any opposition from changing their meeting time from 7 to 6:30 as well. And I think all of them are happily in agreement, and your city staff is too. So Amanda may be drafting a resolution for them to consider. So other than that, I did put some more demographics in your report this time. This is something the last 2 days I've been at a Missouri Main Street Summit or workshop. And this is something they talked about. It's really recognizing and knowing who your audience is, who our citizens is, what their demographics are, how old they are, where they like to shop. Are they families? What type of households they are? So we wanted to talk a little bit about that later on, but this is a snapshot of that. That gives us an opportunity to begin to plan our city, whether it's downtown or commercial areas, what kind of housing do they want, what kind of retail, and what type of experience. This will be great for Hayden as he embarks on his planning project for the Parks Department. So I think it's pretty interesting. This isn't what I thought. At first, I thought we were going to have a larger, older population, but we have this is, I think, what we call the Gen Z population. The millennials make up the majority of this. Of course, the biggest cohort are the teenagers, which this information is a few years old, so they're in their early 20s now. But so we have a relatively young population. So think about what they like to do, what kind of community they want, what kind of housing are they going to demand, what kind of entertainment, restaurants, all those things, what kind of jobs. There's a lot of demographics here. I won't go into any more detail, but I just want to point that out. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I think you're putting, oh, sorry.
Alderman Campbell was first.
So as someone who was born in 1954, I'd never heard of Boomers 1 and Boomers 2.
You know, I had neither, but I think the baby boomers are the offspring of the greatest generation. And I think there's a smaller gap there after the baby boomers between the millennial, or excuse me, Gen X. I never thought it was a very big cohort, but that's the first time I had seen it too. So it's a good point. I think I've looked at, I don't know how many of these tables, and every one of them are different. And they're always in constant movement because these generations are aging, and there's always somebody new coming up and one of the cohorts passing away. So I don't know that I would take this one as the gospel, but it's a good indication anyway. Gives you some insight to who lives in Ozark. The other thing I would add, you be careful opening the door to my mouth, but you know, we look at Ozark in terms of our demographics as the city proper, and that's what these demographics represent. But you know, there's a lot of people that shop at Walmart and come downtown and they do their business here, they work here, but they live outside the city limits. So we really need to look at that geography. And I think it's probably more represented by the school district than it is the Ozark city limits. So we'll look into that a little closer and see how that differs from this data. But that's something to consider as well. So.
Yes, sir.
No, I'll withdraw my comment.
Oh, okay, okay. Anyone else for Director Whitman? Okay. Well, question. On the radio this morning, they was talking about the 2020-2024 population growth. And of course, Rogersville in our area had the largest increase. Rogers was either 38 or 34%. Republic was at 14%. Nix was at 13%, and Ava was at 10%. Have y'all gotten that chart? Okay, it was on the Wind. They was talking about this. I was just wondering. I haven't seen anything either. If it's from 2020 to 2024, they was given the growth.
I'll be glad to bring that to you in June if you'd like.
Okay, okay. I was curious because they just mentioned that ones that had double-digit increase. So
that data is relatively easy to get. It's probably give me a few minutes and we can bring it up on. But I won't do that to you. So.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Next, we'll recognize Director Hayden.
Good evening. Before you, of course, is our monthly report for Parks and Recreation. One of the benefits to our meeting being postponed from Monday to Thursday is I can say as of Tuesday, all our air conditioning units are now on the roof. They're finalizing that install. Of course, there's wiring that goes into it. There's the programming, different pieces like that. Official startup for those last units will happen Tuesday. And then what I describe as the brain of the system will come online shortly after that. We have thermostats in each room. So right now they're controllable by the thermostat. We have the ability to set the range on that thermostat. So a member can't set it down to 50 if they've just had a particularly warm workout. But we're very excited about that. So that is a good thing, especially as we start to see warmer days. The other thing I'll point out is it's a super busy time for Parks and Recreation. Our outdoor pool opens Saturday, and that's an exciting moment. Many of you probably have fond memories of the Grubaugh Municipal Pool if you grew up in Ozark or have been in Ozark at any point in the last 40 years. It opens. That's very exciting. Summer camp starts Tuesday, and then I can't ever forget Phil and Trey, who have both soccer and baseball and softball going on right now. And so it's a busy time, but it's a super exciting time. This is, I don't want to say what we live for in Parks and Rec, but summer is when you get outdoors and get into your parks. The other thing I want to point out is this report, as I look through it, you all don't get to see the back end of how it comes together, but this is put together by all of our different divisions at Parks. Some of my staff are a little wordier, and I promise I go through and edit it and try and make it a little less wordy, and some prefer to be based on numbers. But it is super exciting to see their fingers touch this report. If you ever have any questions on that, I'm happy to elaborate on different pieces of it because there really is a lot going on. But beyond that, I'm happy to answer any questions for you this evening.
Anyone? Okay. Yeah, Tuesday morning was fun working out.
Yeah, it was fun. It was stressful, but it was good because they finished right at 4:55.
Very good.
We were supposed to reopen at 5, so it was perfect.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay. Any final comments from the board? Yes, Alderman Campbell.
I think most of the board knows, I don't know if the audience does or not, but so my hometown of London, Kentucky was hit by a tornado Friday night, Saturday morning, around midnight. And the city put out a letter to, can you explain what, I don't know who did it. I don't know if it was you or.
I'll be honest, it was a group effort
Okay,
and all, but we
okay.
wanted to express our condolences because this is your hometown and it's horrible what happened to your hometown.
Yeah, yeah. So I just want everybody to know I appreciate that. And I'll be in London. I can't remember the day. I think I get there next Friday, and I'll be spending some time there. Anyway, I appreciate it.
Well, because it's to you, it's personal because you know the people.
Yeah.
It's not just something in the news. You know, people live there.
Yeah. And there were 3 fatalities in the subdivision that Teresa and I lived in 40 years ago. Yeah. There were 3 fatalities in that subdivision. It was one of the 2 subdivisions that was hit. It probably was the one that was hit the hardest. Yeah. And it tore out the Sunshine Hills Baptist Church, which was, we lived here, and then there's a lane, and then Sunshine Hills Baptist Church was kind of down the hill from us. But anyway, I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
This was the first night of the Ozark Farmers Market, and he's got the shirt and I've got the card.
Yeah.
So there was a big crowd there.
Yes.
And it truly is a gathering of people from the community of all ages. And it's fun to sit there and watch the little kids running down among the gardens where they're planting tomatoes at the same time. And it was just really a great occasion. I'm really glad that we have that attraction here.
Okay. And,
No, go ahead.
okay, again.
Oh, just on that point, I was down there as well. It was hard to find parking. I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, there was no parking in the accessible area, and the mill parking, and the farmer's market or the workshop parking area. So it was pretty cool to see. I did talk to an employee of the mill. I mentioned that I was on city council, and I won't mention who it was, but he asked, when are they going to do that sidewalk over on the corner there by the stoplight? Can I ask? Do we have, since it got brought up?
Yeah, it's actually at the next meeting, you'll see a resolution for some additional funding for that, what we're calling the Finley River Extension. And we're looking at hopefully finishing construction by spring or summer. But we've been working with Finley Farms for quite some time. I don't know if you know this, but Bass Pro has a tendency to change their mind sometimes, and they admit that too. But we're getting there. We're on version 14.b. So,
Okay. And I agree with your comment about parking. I had my schedule today has been crazy. I had like 20 minutes. I was going to run down there real quick. There was no parking. You had to go all the way to the field, and I thought I don't have time. And also, I mean, that's great that people are there. So, Alderman Snyder.
Well, I'll just say this, one of the reasons we get to sit, in chambers like this tonight and talk is because of what occurred over the past several years with our soldiers and our Marines and our airmen. This is Memorial Day weekend, and while everybody's out at the rivers and the lakes and the beaches, probably ought to remember those that were at the beach of Omaha and Utah and Juneau and Sword, because they are the reason we get to be here in this chamber tonight. So I just want to leave you with that's why we get to do what we do. And this next Wednesday, I'm going back to Washington, D.C. with those heroes again aboard the honor flight. So if you get a chance to come out to the airport, please do it. Very proud of what we get to do, but it's the heroes that we put in tow on that aircraft to make it possible.
Okay. And I concur what he says. If you've never been there to welcome them home, it's a very humbling experience to give honor to these heroes and appreciate what Alderman Snyder does, this organization, to our great heroes. So I think if we're finished, I entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Alderman Campbell and a second by Alderman Aiken for adjournment. All in favor for adjournment, do so by show of hands. And does carry, and we are adjourned.